I've had the Akai MPC Live 3 for about a week now, and my first impression is this thing is kind of incredible. It's really fun and it's really powerful and capable of doing a lot of different things. This is the first MPC that I've owned, and I will admit the workflow has a little bit of a learning curve to it for sure, but I think that's sort of unavoidable with the amount of different features and capabilities that this device has. If you've seen any of the marketing on this device, you'll likely have seen that there were some big spec bumps from the previous version to this one, and it definitely feels snappy and quick when you're going between screens and loading plugins. They also did some crazy stuff with these pads, which I'll show you shortly, but you can see that you can break them down into 4 quadrants, and then you also get X and Y axis parameters that are assignable. It also has these speakers up front, which sound really quite good. They're like way better than, a laptop or a tablet or something like that. It also has a rechargeable battery too. I think you get like 4 or 5 hours of battery life out of it, which is honestly pretty good for a rechargeable battery. So when you load up a new project, they put this trap kit on the first track, which I'm going to delete in a moment. But before I do that, I'll show off some of the cool pad stuff that you can do. So this is the hi-hat, and they set 4 different articulations to the 4 corners. And I'll go ahead and hit full level so you can hear it at the loudest possible volume. And it's pretty accurate and easy to hit one individual corner. I'm not a big finger drummer person. I think if I was, I'd be a little bit more excited about the 4 corners, but I'm not particularly good at finger drumming, so I probably won't end up using that too much. I haven't used it yet. But the other interesting thing about the pads is they have assignable XY parameters. So you can hear on this 808 here, the Y-axis is assigned a pitch on that, which is pretty cool. And then you can also assign the X-axis to something else. You could do volume or filter cutoff or anything like that, which is pretty fun. It's pretty cool. That's something I'm a little bit more interested in using because that's sort of more like playing an instrument in a lot of ways, which is pretty interesting and exciting to me. There's also this really good touch strip on the side here, which is assignable to a number of different parameters. If I assign it to track level and then I play the hi-hat, it's really quite useful. It's very accurate to the touch, and there's a lot of different things you can assign it to. So I'll start by deleting this trap kit, which I can do with this pencil over here, and then delete track. So now I have no tracks on the track view over here. So let's go ahead and grab a sample to chop. And one cool thing about this device is it has Wi-Fi and Bluetooth capabilities, and it also has Splice integration, which I use Splice for most of my samples. So I didn't load up any samples at all on this device. I just connected it to my Splice account, and through Wi-Fi, it's just grabbing all of my samples, which is really cool. I'll go open this all of my samples folder. So I'm just going to go ahead and use the search and look for a sample that I heard earlier that I thought would be really cool. I think it was called Somber Soul or something like that. I think that would be pretty cool. So let's go ahead and load that. We'll go back and open the sampler up here. You can pull that up from here. Cool. Now from here, we'll just go over to the chop menu. And I think I'll try 16 different sections. Let's see how that works. Cool, nice. I think that'll sound good. And then I can also change the tuning from here. But I can also actually change the tuning of all the samples after I chop them, so I'll probably do that. Now from here, it took me a bit to find the setting where I would actually chop these and put them on pads. Again, it's kind of a workflow thing. It's tough when you're first trying to figure it out, but as soon as you figure it out, it's pretty simple and straightforward. You just hold Shift and then you hit Convert, which was unintuitive to me, but it makes sense now. So I want a new drum track using slices, and I'll just hit Do It, and then... So it did a couple of things too, which I really like. One is that it put them all in a mute group, so they cut each other off when you play another one. And it also got rid of the little clicks in between the samples. So overall, the sampler is working really well. I really like it. So from here, I can go over into the sound edit, and then I've got this global section here, which is where I will start messing with the pitch a bit. I think I want to take it up at least a couple semitones. Yeah. Okay. I like that a lot. That's cool. So from here, I want to start putting some of these chops onto the grid. And you can do it a couple different ways. You can use this arrangement window, which you can also access here, full screen. And this is essentially like a DAW. You get a full, as long as you want, the full arrangement. They've also added this clip matrix thing, which is very similar to Ableton, if you've ever used Ableton Live, where you can record individual little snippets of each individual track and then put them together, which I've found to be really cool. Again, the workflow is like a little tricky at first, but once you get used to this clip workflow, then you can add the clips to that arrangement. It's really quite good. It makes up for a lot of the weaknesses of other samplers. This is very much a full-fledged kind of DAW in a box. It's really great. So to create a new clip, I'm actually just going to go to this window and then scroll over. From here, I'll change the tempo. I think I'll go down to somewhere around here, maybe. And then I'm going to change the length of this clip to 4 bars. I think that sounds about right. And then I'll just play when it comes back around. So from here, I'm going to edit these a little bit, and I've found this to be not the most user-friendly MIDI editing situation in the world, but it's doable. It's not too bad. So for example, like I know I want to get rid of this note. I'll see if I can use the eraser on it. Okay, there we go. And then I want to go ahead and move this one over. I wonder if I can just nudge it there. Yeah, okay. The other cool thing that they have here is this undo button, and this will undo basically anything at all, and it's really, really useful. This is not something you find in a lot of samplers where it's just storing in memory every single event, every single button press, every single thing that happened, and you can just undo it easily. Like I could go pretty far back, or I can go ahead and hit Shift and then redo all that stuff that I just undid. It's really quite good. This is something that you don't realize how important and useful it is until you don't have it. But now that I have it on this, it makes me very happy. It's really nice. Let's go ahead and play this from the start and see what else I want to change. Cool. I think that sounds pretty good. As a side note, quantization is on by default, and you can change that with TC. I think it stands for timing. Yeah, timing correct. You can just turn that off. You can change what value you're timing to. There's swing. There's all the good stuff here that you would want. Triplets, whatever. So now I want to go ahead and add some drums to this. But instead of doing another drum track, I'm just going to go ahead and use a drum loop on an audio track instead, just to make this a little quicker and easier. So I'll go ahead and go to new track, and then I'll go to audio. And then from here, I should be able to browse through my samples and by instrument, find a drum loop. So I want something that's maybe a little bit offbeat and interesting. So I'm going to scroll through and see if I can find something that works here. That sounds pretty cool. I think that might work. So I'm going to go ahead and load that. Then if I go back to my audio track, I should be able to browse samples and then pull that up here, I think, right? It's almost at the right tempo too. So let's go ahead and make sure it's at the right tempo. It looks like it tried to grab the tempo from, I think, from the audio track, and it almost guessed exactly what it is, but I'm going to go ahead and change it to 86. And then from there, I should be able to, oops, no, I think because warp is already selected, it might just work. Let's go ahead and see what it looks like on the arranger. So that's on the arranger, but I actually want a clip of that audio loop. So let's go back to the clip matrix. Yeah, I want a clip right there of that loop. So I'll go ahead and go back to main, and then I'll go over to here, create clip. Now that I'm on a clip, I'll go ahead and load that up again. Browse samples, do it. And then set that back to 86. And I think because now it's in that clip slot, it should line up perfectly. I believe warp was selected on that. Yeah, warp. And by the way, there's these different warp algorithms here. This default one has been really good. I haven't used any of the other ones really. Repitch could be really cool too. But this default one has just worked kind of perfectly for everything. It's been really impressive. So let's go ahead and go back to the clip matrix and we'll play this row. We'll see how it sounds. That definitely works. I like the little bit of swing groove to that drum loop, and it works well with the chops. Let's go ahead and hop over to the mixer. This is honestly one of my favorite parts of the device, is the really extensive mixing capabilities you can do on it. So we obviously have our 2 tracks here that we just added, but if you scroll over, you'll also notice we have submixes, which is really great. So you can send your different tracks to a few individual submixes and then do some fun mixing stuff. We also have bus sends for effects. If I go over to effects, you can see reverb and delay are already loaded up on the first 2. I'm definitely going to use these for some side chaining. And then we can do our output effects here. And you see there's a bunch of different outputs for USB and stuff like that too. This is very extensive functionality as far as like a mixer goes on a sampler. This is not normal. This is not something you see on many samplers at all. This is going to allow me to do some really fun, interesting things. And the first thing I want to do is sidechain the kick from that audio track to the, or I should phrase it the other way. I want to sidechain the sample to the kick from the audio track, which would be tricky without all these capabilities. But so what I'm going to go ahead and do is send the drum loop to the 4th track. I'll turn it up to 0, I guess, or all the way up. Yeah. So I'm sending the full signal to that 4th bus. And then from the volume, I actually want to turn the 4th bus all the way down. I don't want any of the actual volume coming out of the 4th bus. I'm going to use it just for sidechaining purposes. So if I go over to the effects, now on this 4th bus, I want to sidechain just from the kick. So I want to use this bus as the input for the sidechain, which is going to be the kick, which means I need to filter out all the other stuff that's coming from the drum loop here. So let's go ahead and grab a filter. And I don't know, it doesn't really matter too much. We'll do like 1,000 kilohertz or something, low pass. And then we're also I might add other stuff. Actually, I won't add anything else to it. So I'll just go ahead and put the sidechain input here. I know this is getting a little bit dorky and technical, but it's going to sound really cool. I promise. So for modulation, no, it's not modulation. It's dynamics. That's it. The sidechain effect is called Mother Ducker. So we're going to use the Mother Ducker input. It's going to be input for our sidechain. So this Mother Ducker has different input buses. So you can run multiple sidechains and have them coming from different sources. It's just really flexible. You can do a lot with it. So I'll go ahead and put the Mother Ducker on the original sample chop here. And you'll see it's going to sound really cool here. Go ahead and go into that and then we'll play. We don't have any gain reduction happening yet, so let's go ahead and change the threshold here. And we'll turn up the ratio a bit. And maybe turn the release up. That functionality already almost makes this device entirely worth it, because I love that sidechain sound, and it's not something I can do on other samplers really easily like this, or at least in this flexible and customizable of a way. And I'll show you the difference that this can make by go ahead and turning it off, and I'll play it, and then I'll turn it on, and you'll hear the difference. It really just brings that sample to life. So here it is without the compression. And then I'll turn it on. Oh, I really love that sound. This is really exciting to me. I'm really excited about this. So from here, I just want to load in a bunch of other sounds. So I think the quickest, easiest way to do that is going to be to create a new drum track. Even though I'm not going to use it for drums, I'm just going to use it for kind of random sounds. And then from here, I believe I can load the samples directly into the pads. So if I go back into Splice here, then I go by instrument. Let's just go into the synth section here. Don't be shy. That could be cool. So I believe I can select the pad and then hit load. Cool. So now I can keep doing that. I can just keep going through a bunch of different samples, load up an entire bank here of different synth sounds. Let's also grab some vocal samples too. Maybe I can get some interesting vocal chops going.
Would you be?
Don't be shy. I'm feeling shy. Don't be shy. Don't say goodbye. Don't be shy. Come on. Yeah. Come on.
And then I'm going to change the keys of these individual samples to make them work over the track and see if they sound good. So I'll go ahead and play the track, and then I'll go into the edit over here. And instead of editing globally, obviously I need to edit the individual samples. So I can do that right here, I believe, right? Yep. And then I can also move the end, like say I just want that first part, or if I want to start a little later. So yeah, let's play the track and let's edit these samples a little bit, see how it goes. So then for this one, let's see if I can stretch this one a little bit, because it sounds cool. It's just, it's too fast. So I want to slow it down a bit. So if I go over to, I don't know, where is that? I think, yeah. So from here, if I do warp, so I already tried to warp it. So I think I need to set it to faster to make it go, no, it's a little backwards. You have to go slower, set the BPM lower to go faster. That sounds pretty cool. And then let's definitely turn the volume of it down a bit too. Cool. So overall just editing individual samples is pretty quick and easy. There's a lot of different options here in the different sample menus here. You can see you can stack samples on top of each other. You can also obviously do the different articulations and the different samples per quadrant and stuff. But for each individual track, you actually get these 8 banks of samples anyways. So I feel like having to divide each pad into 4 different pads is maybe not the most necessary thing, at least not for me. I don't find a lot of use of it, but it's cool to have it. I do think setting different articulations for the 4 different corners is probably the most useful way to take advantage of that.
Don't be shy. Don't say goodbye. Don't be shy. Don't be shy. Don't say goodbye. Don't be shy. Don't say goodbye.
And then there are also effects for the individual samples. So these are the inserts for the entire track, but we can scroll over and get some effects just on this one pad here. Let's check out what some of these sound like.
Come on, one more time, baby. Come on, one more time, baby. Come on, one more time, baby. I want, come on. One more time, baby.
Some pretty cool stuff here.
I want to tell you, come on.
I think a little bit of drive sounds good.
Baby. Come on. One more time, baby.
Yeah, this is pretty cool. This is pretty useful in itself to have these built-in effects on each sample, so you don't have to add extra effects. You've just already got effects here. Let's take a look at what other effects we can add to here. Okay, so it's not a ton of options, but it's stuff that seems to be directly related to the sound, like the direct sound of the sample itself. It's not like delays and reverbs and that kind of stuff. But that's pretty cool. I like that. This is also the menu where we would do articulations. And I'll show you some of those different articulations here. So there's different menus, rudiments, rolls, pitched rolls. A lot of different articulations here. Repeats. So that's pretty cool in itself too. And then while I'm here, we can also take a look at the envelopes too. So there's an amplitude envelope. There's a filter envelope. And then the third one was a pitch envelope. So there's really a lot of different stuff you can do with just one individual sample here. Like I said, this device is just really powerful and really capable. And And because of that, there is this learning curve that, even after a week of using this, I still feel maybe only 25% through all of the capabilities of this, I would say at best. But so far, that time investment has been super worth it. And more importantly, it's just been really fun to use. I've really been enjoying this a lot. And then the one other type of track I want to show is a plugin based track, which is more of like an instrument, like you'd pull up a synthesizer or something like this. So that's the default plugin, this Fabric. But there's a number of other ones here, and I actually haven't spent a ton of time with all these different ones, but let's just pull up the piano. And then I want to do something where I get the pads into the right key. So you can hear they're already set to a major scale, which is probably what I want, something like that. Let's set the key of this to be in the same key as our track. So let's just go ahead and listen to it, and we'll play along, and we'll change the key until it fits. So from here, I'll go into the notes menu up here, and I can change the key right here. I do want to set it to be more like a minor kind of sound. Let's do that though. Natural minor. But not D flat. D flat major. We want B minor. Sorry, B flat minor. Actually, maybe we just want pentatonic instead of major here. So let's do minor pentatonic. There we go. And then we can change the octave. I think we can just actually change the bank that we're on here. Nice. And then let's go ahead and go through some of the different plugins and see what they sound like. Obviously, piano sounds like a piano. Let's go from the top here. This bass line, I don't know what electric is. Let's check that out. Oh, it's like an electric keyboard. Okay. And then we've got some different options for some effects. Let's go back into the plugins here. I want to find something that's like a little bit interesting. There we go. That's something interesting. Let's go and edit that and see what we find here. So yeah, this one plugin has all these different categories. Let's find something that's kind of synthy. And then, are there different presets for this? Yes, there are. Wow, okay. There's a lot of different options to go through here. That's kind of crazy. That's just one plugin, and then it has different categories, and each category has different presets within it. This is a very capable device. I don't know how else to like put it. There's just so much stuff in here. Let's just check out another plugin while we're here. And then let's go to the presets. Again, a bunch of different presets here. Yeah, this is there's a lot. I don't know how else to say it. Just a really Yep. It's a lot. It's really fun. It's really fun. There's a lot of stuff here. There's really a lot of other stuff here that I could demo that's pretty cool. I'm definitely going to have more content coming up on this because I'm just really enjoying using it a lot. But the one other important thing I really want to show is some of the other effects here. So I'm going to go back over into the mixer and, let's just pretend that this is like a completed track and it sounds amazing. We'll go over to the outputs. So you can see they have a touch effects on the output already. This uses this touch bar on the side. I believe if I do that, should work. And then if I set this back to touch effects over here. Yeah, okay. So I want to show off some of these touch effects, and then I want to show off some of the other effects too. So I'm going to go ahead and play the beat, and I'll show you how this filter sounds. It actually sounds really great. That's really cool. There's also some other, I believe there's some stutter stuff. There's a tape stop. Yeah, let's check out the tape stop. Love it. That's great. And then I want to do the beat repeat. Yeah, let's check this out. I want to do like maybe an eighth note here. All right, that might take a little bit of practicing and tweaking to get good with, but that could be really cool. Let's see what else is in this touch effects here. Washout. I don't know what that is. Huh. Okay, that sounds pretty cool. So the cool thing with all these different effects, even in just this one touch effects, is you can, of course, use these submixes and put the touch effects on there. So you're only using the effects on maybe just the drums or just the synths and the vocals, as opposed to doing it on the whole mix there, which I think is probably a more useful way to use those touch effects. They did have them up on default on just the full-on output, but I think those touch effects will be really useful on those submixes. That flexibility is really nice. That comes in handy. There's also a lot of other effects here. So let's just check out, like, for example, a limiter and a compressor. Those are things I would definitely use on that master output. Let's see what else we have in these other categories. There's a lot of delays and reverbs in here. I haven't used many of them yet, but that always is a very nice thing to have some different delay and reverb options. In dynamics, pumper, that might be cool. A lot of compressors, which is great. Compressors are important. In EQ and filter, I haven't used many of these, but they seem pretty useful. Filters. Yeah, I mean, it's always nice to have different EQ options. In harmonic here, we have an amp sim, so that's pretty cool. There's some inputs on the back. You can plug a guitar or bass straight in. Distortion flavor. I don't know what flavor is. Let's check that out real quick. Oh, let's hear what these sound like. Ooh, that's kind of cool. Earbuds. Oh, that's kind of cool. Huh, okay. As you can see, there are a lot of effects, and I have not fully explored all these yet. It's going to continue taking some time, but let's go ahead and keep going through and see what else we have here. Lo-fi, that's probably interesting. Some distortions, beat player, I don't know what that is. Oh, okay, apparently I don't have that activated. Let's see. Some touch effects, so XY effects as well. I believe this has to do with the XY parameters on the pads, I think. Actually, I don't know. Again, first impressions are that there's a lot of stuff and I don't know how to use everything because it's just a lot. Okay, here's some good modulation ones. Lots of choruses, which I like a lot. Flanger, fuzz, stereo width. That's a nice thing to have. Auto pan is really nice as well. A number of different phasers. Tremolo is great. Let's see these vocal ones. Okay, there's a few vocal ones. Those look interesting. And then vintage effects. So I believe these vintage ones are essentially like emulators of the sounds of these older devices. I did try them out. They're pretty subtle. So I don't know how often I'll be using them, but maybe they make a bigger difference when you have a big full mix. So hopefully you got a lot out of this first impression video. I feel like my first impressions of this device are just fun. More than anything else, I'm having a lot of fun using it. Even in those frustrating moments where I'm trying to dig through menus and find things, there's so much fun to be had with this that I can deal with a little bit of workflow learning from time to time. And like I said earlier, once you learn those little workflow steps, you don't have to learn them again, really. You just know them and it just becomes second nature and they just get out of the way and all you're doing is having fun and creating fun music. So if you want to like and subscribe, that would really help me out a lot. I'd really appreciate it. And I'll definitely have more content on this device coming up soon. And I'll catch you next time. Later.